All right, so today we have a very special guest on our very first confession session interview. I have a dear friend of mine coming all the way from Thailand. Ms. Keidra King is going to share her story about being a solo traveler, being a solo female traveler, and a person of color that travels. Because I see this come up a lot in the travel groups. People want to know what it's like, to travel on your own, what it's like traveling as a female, and just, what it's like traveling as a person of color. So Keidra, how are you doing today?
I'm good. Sawadee-ka.
You gonna hit them with the top of those who are watching. That is hello in Thai, right? It's just hello, right?
Yes, it's just hello.
Yeah. So that's a little bit of Thai for you. Maybe we'll get some subtitles as what that is and all that. So, how you doing today?
I'm good. It is Mother's Day here in Thailand, August. I think today is the 12th. It's Monday. We're 11 hours ahead of you all. So I got to spend some time with some of the elders this morning. So I'm good. It's been a good day so far.
Good. So my question for you, and I know a lot of people are wondering, how did you end up in Thailand? Well, where are you from? And then how did you end up in Thailand?
Okay.
And then before you answer, I want you guys to understand, when you hear her talking, she has this very sweet Southern accent. I think she has sweet tea in her blood. That's why I love her so much, because I'm from the South. So when she talks, I'm like, South is represented here. So we'll not steal your thunder. Where are you from? How did you make it to Thailand?
Yeah, so originally born and raised, I'm from Louisville, Kentucky. Grew up there all my life and left and moved to Northern Kentucky, Cincinnati area for college. And after that, ended up in DC for a number of years. I worked in government and politics for about 15 years. And worked on Capitol Hill, ran campaigns across the country, worked on the Obama campaign in 8 and 12, and then came back to Kentucky actually in 2012 because I was a state director for the Obama campaign. And then life happened, and there were some illnesses in my family, and decided to stay in Kentucky and with my family, and started working in state government. And I have always traveled somewhat. My mom had her own travel company on the side, so I've always traveled, not as much as I have here lately, but I think the first time I left the country, I may have been like 15 or something, I don't know. But what happened was I was dating someone that lived outside of the country. We met when I was on holiday in Trinidad, and because of that, we would meet up in different countries every other month. So that's when I really started traveling extensively. Outside of that, maybe my family took a trip once or twice a year somewhere. Sometimes it was domestic, sometimes it was abroad. But dated him for 2 years. So for about 2 years, we were meeting up in different places around the world. And that was our time together. And originally, in 16, I knew I was going to lose my job because it would be a shift in administration. And I needed a break. I was tired of politics. I was tired of government. I thought that I needed a break, actually. I didn't think that I was done with it altogether. I thought I just needed a break from it. And it turned into me just being done with it. And that was also our opportunity. He and I, we decided that we would travel together and see if we could really make this work. Right. And the relationship ended, but I decided to continue and go ahead and just travel. So I left, which was the original plan, the end of January of 2017. And I was only supposed to be gone for 1 year. 4 months in Africa, 3 months in Asia, 3 months in the Mediterranean, 2 months in South America, and then I would just come back to my life in the States and go back to government. And 6 months in, I was like, what am I rushing back for? No, actually, I don't need a break. I think I'm done. I'm over it. I don't like
The U.S. or
politics and the states, both. Politics because it had changed so much since I had first started getting involved in campaign and government. There was a time in government that it was political suicide to say I'm not going to work across the party line. And now that's how we get elected, by being obstructionists and not working across the party lines. And I no longer loved it. It was no longer my passion. And so I was like, okay, I don't have a man to go back to. My family as well. I ain't got a job to go back to. What am I rushing to get back to the States for?
Right.
Like, let's do me and stay out in the world. I like it out here. So, yeah.
So as you were doing you, what have you learned about yourself in your travels? Because you said, initially it was supposed to be for a one-time frame, and then it's been extended. You're still there. So what have you learned about yourself through your journey? Because when I travel, I know I always learn something about me that I didn't expect.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I didn't see that coming,
Yeah. Yeah. So much. Not even so much of what I've learned, but even how I've just transformed myself and my thinking. Goodness, what have I learned? I don't really need as much as I thought I did. And the things that I thought that mattered really don't matter. And it sounds cliche, but literally everything that I need, like, the earth is giving me. And everything else is unnecessary. They're wants, they're not needs.
Right.
And I literally am now living off the land, and I'm good. The other thing that I've learned in my travel is that we are really more alike than we realize, regardless of the country.
Right.
It's very interesting. I've been in Thailand for 2 years now, and I say Thai people are our first cousins because there's so many similarities culturally. But I felt the same way when I was in Brazil in like 12. Like, oh my gosh, these are our cousins. Like folks really are very similar if we really get a chance to explore and learn the culture and the people. People are genuinely nice.
Right.
People genuinely look out for you, even with a language barrier. I realized that while language is important, it's not as much as a barrier as you think it will be. Especially in your time of distress or need, people figure it out and will help you.
Right. So that being said, have you learned Thai yet?
Don't judge me. No, not enough. It is horrible how much Thai that I know. And I'm no longer in the city, so it's getting a little better. But when I was living in the city, I was in such an expat community that it wasn't necessary, because the Thai friends that I did have, they spoke English or they wanted to practice their English. Right. And then I was around a lot of other English native speakers. But now that I'm outside of the city, it's forcing me to learn it a little more. So I'm better, but being that I've been here for 2 years, it's disrespectful. I'm not going to front like it's not. It's hella disrespectful that I don't know as much as I should. But it goes back to, even like I said this morning, I'm in this small little community, outside of some basic words. I don't speak Thai, but the love was so real. We communicated with hands and body language with the elders, and it's necessary, but we made do. They felt my love, and I felt their love this morning. It was a good time.
I tell people the one thing I really come to appreciate when I travel is homemade sign language, not like the official sign language.
Yes.
Taught, but
and
stuff, and it's like life becomes charades. It's like, like that, like, no, it's hot, like, I'm cold.
Yeah.
You're always doing these little things, and some things are like really universal. And I think, to your point earlier, it's like you realize how similar we are. Certain hand gestures, are common across the world. Now, there are some things that have different meanings depending on where you go.
Yes.
But it's like you're really able to kind of navigate just by living a real life game of charades. And with that, So you've been in Thailand like going on 2 years or 2 years now, and you don't speak the language. So for somebody who is thinking about travel, and I know one of the questions that comes up a lot is, like, well, I don't know the language. And you've been through Africa, then made your way to Asia. So outside of English, do you speak any other languages?
Does Ebonics count?
For us, yeah.
So it's funny though. I was in Brazil in 2013. I went right after the Obama campaign. I needed a break, so I went to Brazil, and I was in Brazil for like 2 weeks. I was in Sao Paulo and Rio, and Sao Paulo, it wasn't that much of an issue, but Rio, like, they'll look you dead in your face. I don't speak English. Well, you said that clear as day.
Right.
So in Sao Paulo, in Rio, I actually picked up some Portuguese because it was kind of forced. A lot of places that I've traveled to is especially if you're not there for an extended period, you can navigate, and there's this thing called Google Translator, which is your saving grace. But the one thing I will even say too, Google Translator, right? We need to be cognizant that everybody can't read, which was something I learned. Where was I? I don't remember what country I was in. I think I might have been in Asia. I can't remember. But I would do Google Translator and it didn't make sense. And I realized like, oh, well, maybe they can't read. So I had to do the Google Voice Translator. So little stuff like that that I didn't think about. I just thought I'd type it and read. And, that's not necessarily the case everywhere you go. But Google Translator has been my saving grace. But then also, like you said, body sign language works as well. One of the things this morning, again, not speaking the language, but I could just tell how grateful they were from the simplest touch of how they touched my hand. And like how grateful they were that I came because it was this morning. I think we had to get there like 7:30. So, just like how gentle they were with my hand and holding my hand really tight, kind of like your grandma would hold your hand like, baby, I got you. Like that was this morning, right? And again, not knowing the language, the energy was real and I could feel their genuine gratitude for me to be there this morning. But yeah, Google Translator, body language, make it work. But the one thing I will say, the one thing that I always learned how to do in every country that I would go to is at least try to count. So, money-wise, and then basic greetings. Hello, goodbye, thank you. Basic greetings, and that's not hard.
Right. So
that would be my recommendation.
Make your way through Africa over to Thailand. At any point, did you feel like you feel unsafe, or were you concerned and traveling by yourself?
No. Let me tell you something. As a Black woman, I am safer in the world than I will ever be in the United States.
Say that again. I don't think a lot of people here understand that.
Yeah, no. As a Black woman, I am safer out in the world than I will ever be in the U.S. And it's actually a conversation that I had with my father. My father came to visit me last year in Thailand, and he needed to see for himself why I wouldn't come home. He didn't get it. I think when you're in the bubble of being in America and outside of maybe traveling to like the Caribbeans or somewhere like that, you think America is the best thing ever. And really, once you leave the States, you realize this is all bullshit. And when my father came, he was like, I get it. I get it. My father he'll be 60 tomorrow. And I remember my father saying he's never felt the level of peace as a Black man that he felt when we were in Thailand and Vietnam. And he's 59. He was 59 he's 59 still at the time. But no, I've never felt unsafe. And the one thing I told my father when he said, I wanted you home because I feel like when you're out here in the world, I can't protect you. And I was like, you can't protect me in the States, between police brutality, just random rampant crime, like you can't really protect me at home either. And I read an article like a week or two ago talking about how hate crimes has gone up by 200%, not like 20%, but 200% in the U.S.
It's
Now I'm
insane.
saying it's insane. It is insane, and it is. Not to say that there aren't issues of colorism and maybe racism. It's inevitable. You're going to deal with ignorance no matter where you go. But on a whole, is not the case, and it has not been my experience in Asia. And I've been to Europe a couple of times, not on this journey, but even in Europe, it wasn't my experience either. And I do know everybody's experience will be different, but it hasn't been my experience being here.
Now I want you to explain something for me, because I get this question a lot. You know, people are like, why do you go back to Thailand? You must have a girlfriend or a wife or something out there. Like, because I'm a guy, when I mention Thailand, they immediately think I'm going to hit up the bars and all this other stuff. But one, I don't drink, I don't party. I don't really trust dating women out there, like Thai women, because all the things you hear about, you know, them trying to get money from foreigners. I'm like, I'm cool on that. So what I love is, one, you're a female. Two, you're in Thailand and you've been there for quite a while. Can you share with people what is so amazing about Thailand? Because Thailand is like my number one. I've said it a million times. If it was 16 hours closer, I would be there. I love Thailand. I'm sitting there trying not to book a flight back out there right now. So
come on back.
You know I'm coming back, but if I had it my way, I would come back every week. So what that you love about Thailand, it makes Thailand such a wonder, because people don't know until they get there, and everybody that I know who's actually gone feels the same way. So as a female, because for me, they always kind of look at me side eye like, you got somebody over there. I'm like, no, man, you have to go. And like, I love the fact that you said your dad said it, and like he's never felt that level of peace. I feel safe when I'm there. And like you said, there's crime everywhere, but it's almost like you have to go looking for it. Or the crime that I saw, like when I was there, like on the news, is normally domestic. You know, like some sort of lovers triangle or something like that. So what's your take on that?
What I love about Thailand, it's easy. That's what I love about Thailand. I keep saying I'm gonna leave, and year 2 I'm still here. You know, what I appreciate the most about Thailand is I don't have to be on edge. I don't have to look over my back. Like, I will walk down a dark alley in the middle of the night, and it is the least of my concerns. And I don't know too many more places where I feel comfortable walking down a dark alley at 3 in the morning and I'm not wary. And maybe I need to do more with my traveling to figure that out. But that is one of the biggest things that I love about Thailand. The food is delicious. And even for those who are meat eaters and those who aren't, like, I literally live off the land. I made pesto yesterday. I just went and picked it. I picked some basil out of the yard and made pesto. Avocados just fall from the tree and I'll go making guacamole. I mean, I literally live off the land. And the fruit here is just delicious. And you have access to so much fresh fruit and vegetable, and it tastes different. I mean, even my dad was like, I've never had pineapple so sweet in my life. My dad said he's ruined for life. Like, to go back to the States and eat pineapples, he was like, it's not the same. I don't like it. I don't want it. So the food, safety, the people are, the culture is very lively and vibrant. And again, you know, I said this earlier, Thai people are our first cousins, and some of this stuff is stereotypical, but it's still very true to who they are. Remember when the 9th king died last 2 years ago. I think he's been deceased 2 years now. And so I went to the memorial that they had, and I didn't know you're supposed to bring a to-go carton. So apparently you're supposed to bring a to-go carton. Unbeknownst to me, do we not take to-go plates at our family functions and funerals? But you bring your own little to-go, and it was like so much food. It was a prime opportunity to try any Thai food that you wanted, and it was all free. And they had stuff for you if you didn't have your own little cart. But you know what I love about Thailand, and it's not the most wealthiest country, and even with a language barrier, the one thing they will always offer you is something to eat. And if that ain't a good Black mama, she may not have anything else to offer you, but she will always offer you a meal. And Thai people are the same way. And it's almost to a certain extent a little offensive to say no. Like when we were at the memorial, they were just like, here, we're no to go. And I was like, well, I didn't know I was supposed to bring like a to-go carton, right? I love that if you're out late at night, specific to Chiang Mai, if you're out late at night, you will see folks just chilling, sitting on the stoop, like some OGs. It reminds, there's so many similarities that remind me of home.
Right.
But the other thing Thailand has, it depends on what you want too. You know, if you want the city life and the fast living, you have Bangkok. I wanted something very chill, very slow paced, but still access to maybe amenities that I'm used to, like a Starbucks or something like that. I still have that in Chiang Mai, but it's not the busy day-to-day hustle of Bangkok. And even Bangkok is busy, but it's still not the same hustle as like a New York, but it's still busy enough. And if you want to party and have an extravagant nightlife, Bangkok can offer you that. You can go to the south and just chill on the beaches. You can come up north where all the beautiful waterfalls and the mountains are, which I literally will go to a waterfall at least once a week. There's so many to choose from. My last apartment in the city, I had an overview of the mountains, so I literally faced my bed to the mountains so I could just wake up to the sunrise in the mountains every morning. So what I think Thailand offers is a little bit of everything for whatever it is that you need. And Chiang Mai is really a place of healing. So a lot of folks, whether they know it or not, they end up here for that reason. And I think a lot of that has to do with the nature, because we're in the mountains and all these natural hot springs and waterfalls and things like that. But I get why people would say that, because I'm going to be honest, and I think you and I had this conversation too. I assume Black men, when they come here, especially if they're solo travelers and they've been hopping around Asia, like they come here for that. And that's okay. I'm not in a space to judge. But I think what happens is, even if you come here for that, you realize there's so much more. And that ends up not even being an issue, or it's like a byproduct of your experience. So,
and the while that I was at, one of the things that I noticed is a lot of things tend to kind of be not necessarily compartmentalized, but it's almost like you have to go to certain places. Like even in the city, like in Bangkok, there are certain areas, like if you go there, it's pretty seedy and like, you know, it's dark. You know what I'm saying? But you have to go there. It's like once you step out of there, it's totally different. Like you said, it's not the same hustle as New York. It's almost like a peaceful hustle. You know, it's like the hustle is polite. It's hard to explain to somebody who has.
It's not overwhelming. And that's the other thing. Like when I was in Ghana, it was overwhelming. The hustle was overwhelming. Like, oh my gosh, I'm not gonna leave the apartment today because I just don't want to deal with the hustle and the men. Like, it's not overwhelming. And I mean, it's even been my experience, like they're out there and they might sell stuff, but they're not coming up to you. It's just kind of like, if you want it, you will come, you know, and they only really try to hustle just a little bit if you come to them. They're not coming to you.
I tell people they have like a true no policy or something. It's like, whatever they're trying to sell you, they might ask you twice and then that's it. If you say no, the conversation is over. There's no following you down the street like, come on, my brother, like, you want pineapple? Like, no, you say no. They're like, you sure, sir? Like, no pineapple? Like, no. And then that's it. And
that's it.
a lot of people,
and they don't necessarily
go to the Caribbean. Say that again.
They don't necessarily come down on their prices either.
You know what? I don't really negotiate. I'm a bad negotiator. I guess because I run businesses, I'm like, you know what? If I feel it's a fair price, cool. And especially going to other countries where the cost of living is way cheaper than the U.S., I'm like, well, if this is their price, unless it's just ridiculous. Like I had a taxi driver try to hustle.
The Farang price though, so they do have the Farang price, so they are gonna up it, but it's not a lot, and they will be fair if you're like, come on now, and they'll be like, okay, they might go down a little bit, or they will simply say no. And again, that's the end of the conversation. It's not this back and forth.
Yeah, like, so I appreciate top price.
Yeah. They were like, nah, you getting the foreign.
Because I was in Bangkok the last time I came, and this taxi driver wanted to charge us like 300 baht, which for those listening, that's between like 10, 11, $12, depending on the exchange rate. And I knew where we were going was close. And I'm like, I can go almost to the airport for 300 baht. Like, nah. So then I got a regular taxi. You know, I was like, are you using the meter? Again, you know, charades and one word conversation. I was like, meter? Say, yeah, meter. Man, that trip cost 55 baht. 300 baht isn't a lot to us. But I know, I'm like, no, this shouldn't cost 300 baht to go where I'm going. Yeah. And it was 55 baht. I'm like, this dude was really about to come up. So I don't like being hustled by anybody.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But it's like, if you're selling something at a fair price, I'm like, okay, I'll let you have that. So that's cool. So I think
that's what I like. It's just easy living. And being here, I have fell in love with the simplicity of life like never before.
Right. Yeah. I learned, you said this earlier, like you realize how much you don't need. I realized how wasteful we are, like in Asia, period, but I spent the majority of my time in Thailand. So Thailand is a stronger reference to me, like even just square footage. You know, we have hotel rooms that, you know, with all this square footage. I'm like, well, what's all this extra space for? Is it for us to go break dance? Or, you know, why do we need all this extra floor space when you come in the room to sleep, shower, and normally head back out? You know, you get to Asia, it's like you come here, you walk around your bed, you get in the bed. You know, it's like everything is smaller, but you come to appreciate it. And even the air conditioning, the places that have them, they have them in separate rooms. So like here, I feel so wasteful just to have the air on, cooling off the whole house. Like I honestly recently bought an oscillating fan, and it's in my room. So like when I go to bed, I just turn the fan on me. Like, why am I cooling off the rest of the house? Nobody else is here. That came from me traveling. Like prior to that, it never crossed my mind to, I mean, I thought about wasted, you know, like you don't want the door wide open during the day or the window up, but outside of that, I never really thought about how wasteful we are, you know, as a country. And you said this earlier, like when you step away from America, you look back, you have a whole different perspective when you're out of it. Like you said, when you're here, you're like in a bubble.
You're in the matrix.
That's what I always call it, the matrix. I'm like, man, you're still in the matrix. Like you have to step out and then you see things for like what they really are. Like
what it is.
Here recently with the mass shootings, you know, several other countries have us on the travel warning list. You know, and people are so scared to go to all these other places. I'm like, you realize that we're a lot more dangerous than a lot of other countries. A lot.
We are a lot. The only thing the U.S. is #1 in is crime and imprisonment. That's it.
Right.
We're not even in the top 20 in healthcare, education, none of that.
Right.
It's funny. Before I left the States, like in 2016, my uncle used to send me all of these articles. He's an AME pastor, and he used to send me all these articles before I left because he was worried about me traveling by myself, about, you know, sex trafficking, and I'm gonna become a victim. And that is real. Let me be really clear. That is definitely real. But it was interesting because I remember seeing all of the Caribbean countries have put out travel alert warnings for Caribbean, well, it was all of the major Caribbean, and then like a couple of the African countries have put out travel alert warnings for coming to America as a person of color, saying you're going to get shot by the police. Like, that is crazy. And you worried about me leaving the country.
Right.
And all of these other countries have us on their travel alert. Like, I'm good. I'm really good.
And so as
but I think to leave, right? We've been conditioned. My uncle is like 70 something, so he's a vet, and it's conditioning. It's exactly what it is. It's conditioning. So I get it. But what I'm grateful for, my older sister will be here in September. And when I lived in DC, she only came to visit me once, and that's when I first moved to DC. So the fact that she is willing to leave and come all the way to Thailand would be amazing, because then all of my family has been here. My father was here last year, and he's coming back in October. My mom came back with me in March. My younger sister just left 3 weeks ago. So, my entire family has literally come to see me. So, and I've had like my best friend come. I've had quite a few visitors. So that's been really cool too, to just allow them to have the exposure and to see things different. I always say there's no way, especially if you come and spend time with me, there's no way you leave this country the same way that you came in. It's not possible.
Which is why we're still connected, because I came across you on my last day in Chiang Mai. I was actually on my way out.
Yeah.
And that southern hospitality mixed with the Thainess that Thailand is like, okay, I'm gonna come back. Because
southern hospitality and Thai hospitality is the same thing, actually. It really is. Yeah. We need to come up with a word for it. I don't know, but it's the exact same thing.
Yeah, they really are very like welcoming, and like you said, offer you. I went to get a massage once, and the lady, because it was in a shop house. For those who are watching, the shop house is a multi-level unit, so you had to go up to, I think I went to the second or third floor. The second floor is where the kitchen was. So I'm on my way up to the third floor. The lady was like cooking and was like offering me a plate. I'm like, I'm about to get a massage. Like, how's that go? But she was serious. It wasn't like, oh, you want some, like kind of joking. Like, she was literally about to hand me a plate. I'm like, no, thank you, but no thank you. So Thailand
I've seen, it is. Even, I've only seen 2, I'm literally sitting here counting. I've only seen 2 homeless people in the 2 years that I've been here. This idea of like, folks living on, it's not, I always say if Thai people came to like a California or a New York, they would just be like, what? I mean, and the US is supposed to be the wealthiest nation in the world. And, poverty and homelessness and hunger runs rampant no matter where you are in the States. And I've seen it twice in 2.5 years.
Yeah, now that you mention it, I only saw it once. I saw a guy in Bangkok. He was like sleep on the street, and like, and I spent the majority of my time in Bangkok walking. So I was like on the streets literally. And you're right, like you don't really see that. It's kind of, I don't know where they are.
Everybody lives. Well, I realized too that a lot of people live under the same roof. It's generational, under the same roof. So even for those family members that may be sick, whether it's mental disease or whatever, like, we taking you in and we're gonna take care of you.
Right. I think I might know the answer to this, but what's your favorite place that you've traveled in all of your journeys?
What do you think the answer is?
I'm assuming it's Thailand because you're still there.
Right.
You weren't supposed to stay. It was supposed to be a short trip.
It was. It happened though. I feel like this is where I was supposed to be. I love Thailand, but I don't have a favorite place. I don't have a favorite, I don't have a favorite country, but actually my favorite continent is Africa. Every country that I've been to, and I haven't been to a lot, I've only been to 7. But South Africa, Ghana, Tanzania, Kenya, Egypt, Mozambique. I think that's it. Did I say Egypt? Yeah.
Yeah.
Israel, even though they don't want to act like they in Africa, y'all like literally connected. Israel. But every country that I've traveled to on the continent, it literally provided me something different and fed me in so many different ways. And the one thing, the vibration, the heartbeat of that continent, no matter what country you're in, that's the only thing that I would say is similar, is the drive and the heartbeat and the vibration. But everything else, depending on the country you're in, it will feed you in a different way. There's truly no place like Africa. So I would say that maybe Africa is my favorite continent. And Thailand, it just happened. I wasn't supposed to sit still anywhere. I got tired. And I happened to be in Chiang Mai. And
tired of moving,
easy.
like traveling.
I got tired of hopping, and I caught the flu. I wasn't listening to my body. And I caught the flu 2 days before my visa expired. So I couldn't travel. So I just paid to extend for 1 month, and 1 month has turned into 2 years. So it just kind of helped. It just happened. I had no intention on settling in Thailand. I think, you know, it's funny. I was only supposed to spend 4 months when I was in Africa, and I ended up spending 5 months because I kept staying longer. Like, I was only supposed to be in Egypt for a week and a half. I was there for 3 weeks. I fell in love with Luxor. I ended up being in Kenya for a month. I was supposed to be there for 2 weeks. I was in Tanzania for almost a month and a half. That was supposed to be a 2-week trip. So it's like everywhere I went, I don't know. I just like, I don't want to go. I don't want to go. And I was like, okay, I got to stay on task. I got to stay focused. I literally had created an Excel sheet of every country that I was going to be in and where I would be, date and time. Because one of the things that I did before I left is I sent the Excel sheet to my family and friends and said, this is where I will be in the world. You're welcome to meet me anywhere. So I had some friends that met me in South Africa. I had some friends that met me in Dubai. I had some friends that met me in Abu Dhabi. Yes, probably not much. So some fun. My mom met me in Ghana as well. So folks were meeting me along the way because I had sent out the Excel sheet beforehand. So, yeah.
So you said you went through 7 countries in Africa, and then, so did you go from Africa straight to Asia, or did you go through Europe and then make your way to Asia?
No, I didn't have Europe on this journey. If I'm being completely honest, I wanted to break from white people. So the closest that I could get to white people was my time in the Mediterranean, and that was it.
Gotcha.
I was not trying to go to Europe on this journey. So no, I went straight from Africa to Middle East, and then my first stop was Bali. Okay. And I did a yoga and meditation retreat there. Bali, I was only supposed to be there for 7 days, which was the retreat. And I ended up being there for almost 3 weeks, connected with some of the girls that I had met. And there were women from it was a co-ed retreat. But there were a group of us that really connected. People from all over the world were at this retreat, and we ended up getting a beach house in Canggu. The retreat was in what is it?
Ubud?
Where everybody goes. Who?
Is it Ubud?
Ubud, yes.
Ubud.
So that's where the retreat was. Yeah. And then some of us got together and left there and went to Canggu and spent some time there. So again, what was supposed to be 7 days turned into 2 weeks, almost 3, with me being in Bali and saying, okay, I got to stay on task because I got people meeting me.
Did you go like from Africa straight to Asia?
Yeah, so Africa to Asia. Yeah, to Bali. And so since I've been here, I've done Vietnam. I really love Vietnam, Hoi An to be specific. It's like a little town right outside of Da Nang. I've done South Korea, China, Myanmar, Burma. Like, I love Burma. It's not a real touristy place, but like they way darker than us in Burma. So it was just like family again. And I just got like mad love, especially if I had my hair out. It was funny. Like, I've learned being in Asia, if I don't want to draw too much attention, you know, I need to keep my hair twisted, because the moment I wear it out, it's mayhem. People are taking pictures and stuff. But I felt very comfortable in Burma, and I was like, I'm gonna twist my hair, and I wore it out. And I remember the 2 days that I wore it out nonstop. And I don't really hear other cultures say this, so it was very interesting. But they were just like, "You're a goddess, you're a goddess," and I was like, "Oh my gosh, I love Burma, y'all family." Like, I don't really hear a lot of other cultures with like queen or goddess. And the days that I wore my hair out, I got that constantly. But I love being in Burma and Myanmar. So yeah, traveled a little bit around Asia. Still have more of Asia to see, but
So was Africa your first stop when you left?
Africa, well, Israel was my first stop. Yeah, and then from Israel, I went to Ghana.
Okay.
But originally, it was supposed to be Israel to Jordan and Jordan to Egypt. But again, I fell in love with Israel, and I was only supposed to be there for a week, and I spent 2.5 weeks. So I had to be in Ghana by a certain date because my mom was meeting me. So I just flew straight there instead of doing the others.
This time, when you went to Africa, was that your first time going, or had you been to the continent?
That was my first time ever on the continent.
Okay,
I went solo.
You went solo. So what kind of research did you do prior to going? Like, were you nervous? At any point, did you feel like maybe this wasn't a good idea? I wish somebody else was here with me. Like, walk me through that. Like, you just kind of went with the flow?
I mean, I did my research because I wanted to make, like, for some of the countries, you need to have shots and all this other stuff. So, like, that aspect of it. And then there were just countries that I always wanted to go. I wanted to go to Ghana. I wanted to see the pyramids. I wanted to go to Egypt. I have people that are like family to me in Kenya and in Tanzania. So I needed to go there. And then these are just places that I always wanted to go. So, and I'm kind of like, once my mind is made up, there's no like back and forth questioning. Is this like, once I said I'm going, I'm going. So we ain't worried about anything else. We're going to figure it out. We're going to put a plan together. And we moved forward with it. So I didn't question it once I decided I was going to do it. And I probably should have maybe worried about safety, but that, like, honestly, that was the least of my concerns. I feel like if you can make it in America, you can make it anywhere. Like, that was never a thought that went into my head. And the only time that it even halfway came up, again, was like my uncle sending me all this stuff about trafficking. And then I was like, oh, yeah, okay, well. And, you know, I said to him, well, first of all, I'm not young, because most of the time they want younger girls. And I said, secondly, I'm not a virgin. And thirdly, hey, who knows, I might enjoy it, so let's go with it. And that just kind of put the damper in it for him, and he let it go and stopped sending me this stuff about it. But honestly, I never even thought about that when I made the decision to go, if I would be safe. I didn't. And I was. At no point did I ever feel unsafe when I was anywhere on the continent. Ghana was an experience within itself. West Africa is an experience. And specific to Ghana, there were some issues around colorism. I had never seen so much bleaching cream everywhere in my life. Until I got to Ghana. And specific to Accra, because I didn't feel this when I was in Elmina, the men were very aggressive. I can't think of how many times I was proposed to, how like literally every 4 steps, a man tried to holler at me or would approach me or like touch my arm or touch my face and say I'm beautiful. Or so between, I would say every 4 steps there was a man. I would think every 6 or 7 steps somebody was hustling trying to sell you something. And it was very specific to Accra. But I also know, and a friend warned me, he was like, oh, they're gonna love you in Ghana. You know, fair skin, I'm curvy. So yeah, I get it. But even with all of that, it was more of an annoyance than anything. I still never felt unsafe. And I never felt like my life or anything was threatened. And really, once I left Accra and was in Elmina, like, men would stare, but they wouldn't approach, so it was fine. And then, you know, South Africa is not really an issue because you have, you know, the coloreds, which is the different caste systems, you know, Afrikaans, which are the white, I think they're Dutch South Africans, and then the Africans who are the darker skin, and then colored are people who are mixed race or Indian or anything else. So, you know, in South Africa, I could blend, which is really funny. If I have to say, you know, everywhere that I've traveled in the world, I've always blended, even in European countries, because there's so many immigrants for them colonizing the world. So a lot of the European countries have people of color, you know, Africans, Jamaicans, whatever. When I was in South America, the Caribbean, you know, until I open my mouth, I normally blend. So it was in Ghana that I did not blend and I stood out, which is crazy. I'm in the motherland and I don't blend. But it was specific to Ghana. It wasn't an issue when I was in South Africa or anywhere else. It was funny when I was going through immigration in Tanzania. He was like, "Oh, they're gonna love you here." I said, "I've been to Ghana. I can deal with it." But it wasn't an issue at all when I was in Tanzania. Nobody said anything, did anything, men didn't approach, and it was fine. I kind of blended and went on about my way.
Which was the first country in Africa? Which was the first country that you went to in Africa?
I guess I would say Ghana, but see, I count Israel as part of Africa, so I'm going to say Israel. When I left the U.S., I went from New York to Israel.
Okay, and then from there to Ghana.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Gotcha.
Yeah. And then made my way south and then came up East Africa and then Egypt. Because I was trying to make up for what I missed, because I was supposed to do Jordan and Egypt from Israel. But again, I stayed in Israel too long and I had to be in Ghana by a certain date. So when I left East Africa, I went up, I guess that's northeast, and did Egypt. And I was supposed to go to Jordan, but again, ended up spending almost 3 weeks in Egypt, and I was only supposed to be there a week and a half, so I missed Jordan. And I had to be in Indonesia by a certain date because of the retreat. So I still haven't done Jordan, but we'll get it on the list.
Gotta make that up.
My two places that I really want to do is Jordan and Ethiopia.
Okay.
Those are my two.
So what's your next adventure that you have lined up? You have anything lined up right now? You just kind of...
I don't. I am sitting still. I'm focusing. I have some retreats coming up, so those are like my focus right now, is getting everything together and preparing myself for the retreat. So I'm sitting still for now. And there's too many people coming. I've been back since March. I went to the States for 3 months. So I've been back since March. And in that time, my mom has been here. My younger sister was here. My older sister will be here in 3 weeks. My dad will be here in October. So between the retreats and family, which I'm grateful that they think enough of me to want to come and see me, I'm just sitting still.
Okay.
And you came.
Yeah.
So you were here. I keep getting company. So
and that's
y'all are making it hard.
I tell people, like, a lot of people don't realize, like, Bangkok is the most visited city in the world. I don't know if it's just because of airport connections or whatever, but like, it was always somebody coming through. Like, somebody's always coming. Like, I always know somebody going to Thailand or just got back from Thailand or know somebody who just went. Yeah. So it's like, there's always somebody who you know that knows somebody that knows somebody. Because, you know, I send people to you, like, they say, oh, they're going to northern Thailand, like up in Chiang Mai. Like, oh, you got to holler at my girl Keidra, like, she's up there. You know, so because it's good to have a connection, especially somebody who, you know, speaks the language, who you can connect with. So it's always a good
I would also tell people too, when they're traveling, look up the Facebook groups, right? So, you know, there's us, brothers and sisters of Chiang Mai, there's brothers and sisters of Bangkok, there's brothers and sisters of Malaysia, brothers and sisters of Singapore, China, just type in brothers and sisters and see what comes up. I don't think it's called brothers and sisters, but I know there's a large number of Black folks in Abu Dhabi that I connected with. In Saigon, which is in Vietnam, they're called Black in Saigon. I know there's brothers and sisters of Kuwait. So that is one thing that I did when we talk about like research. When I decided where I was going, I literally wrote down, who do I know from that country? And if I don't know anybody, who is it that I think would have a contact in that country for me? And the other thing that I did is every time I was about to go to another country, leaving one country to another, I would say, hey, y'all, I'm headed to this place. If you know anybody, tag them below. And folks were tagging people below. So that was also very helpful because there were a couple of countries that I didn't have points of contact for. But I would just post and say, hey, and even if they didn't know anyone there, maybe they had just traveled there so they could give me like some feedback. Power of social media. It can be good.
Right. Yeah, social media is very powerful nowadays. And even when I was traveling, I would often remind myself, you know, because people were like, you know, how are you out there by yourself and this, that, and the other. And I'm like, well, you think about it, before the internet, the phones and all that, like people have traveled for hundreds, thousands of years without technology. And like that would be something I would remind myself. Like you mentioned Google Translate earlier. I use that a lot, but then I'm like, okay, so what did people do before this? You know, they did the sign language, like you figure out a way to communicate. So, you know, I'm like a hybrid of, you know, kind of liking the challenge of doing things old school, but then it's like embracing the ease of technology and social media. Like you said, look for a contact. Hey, you know anybody in this place? Because that's how I got connected in Chiang Mai. Like social media, I was there. Somebody was like, hey, my cousin is there right now. And I'm like, really? A Black person is here in Northern Thailand? Like, I mean, it's weird how the internet works like that. And through her, I met you, and it's crazy. It's like, and I think a lot of people don't really use social media, I don't want to say properly, but I think when it comes to travel, people don't realize that it truly can be a really beneficial resource. So with that being said, if there's somebody who's thinking about traveling, because I mean, you left the U.S., went to Africa alone, you know, made your way up through Asia, and you're still out there, you know, doing your thing solo. Because one thing I see a lot of is a lot of people ask questions about solo travel, which is funny because your trip wasn't supposed to be solo, but it ended up being solo. And I see that happen a lot for different reasons, like even vacations, like somebody's supposed to go on a cruise, somebody backs out, so now somebody's going on a cruise by themselves, you know, and
life lessons. Don't plan it around nobody else.
You know, and I think that's the one thing people have to realize, like it's not the end of the world. And I'm a firm believer that everything happens for a reason. So I'm like, well,
there you go.
This is how I guess I'm supposed to go by myself. When I went to Asia, I'm not gonna lie, I was scared, not even nervous, just because of the language barrier and the character barrier, meaning like their written characters look so different. Like I don't know if I'm looking at letters or numbers. So I was legit scared. You know, people talk about, you know, you're so brave. And at first I'm like, but then courage is, you know, moving forward when you're scared, like in spite of. And it does take a lot of courage to travel.
And I will say this too, and I don't mean to interrupt, but you made me think of something. The privilege that we have is that we're native English speakers. So with that, there's no country that I've ever been to, regardless of what their native tongue is, especially at least with the airports, everything's going to be in English. What I've seen more as I travel, regardless of the country, even some of this on the continent, everything is in English, whatever the native tongue is, and Mandarin. So
yeah, it's pretty interesting. And even when you go different places, you'll know traveling patterns. So like when you go south, like towards Phuket, you see a lot of stuff in Russian. You know, and that's something I didn't realize until I started traveling. Like you never view Russia as people that take vacations. We just look at them as like the enemy, communist, bad people. But I'm like, they're people. They take vacations, and apparently a lot of them go to southern Thailand because a lot of stuff.
And they're in China too. Yeah, I saw that in Beijing. Now that you said that, I saw that a lot in Beijing as well. A lot of stuff was in Russian.
Right.
Yeah.
So then you start to notice like, okay, so a lot of people from this demographic must come here because they made it a point to make it in, like you say, the native tongue, English, and whatever. Like here in the States, depending on where you are, a lot of stuff is in English and Spanish, right? So it's real interesting seeing that. And you know, it can be comforting, like you said, in the airport. There were a couple of times in China, especially, where like even in the airport, some people didn't really speak English, and I'm like, okay, this is getting ugly. The internet wasn't working because you know they had a block and all that.
China's a whole nother beast. Yeah. To navigate. It is.
Yeah, I think China is the most unique out of all the places I've been so far. You know, mainly because of like, again, even in the airport, there are people there in an international airport, not some local regional airport, but like I'm talking about in Beijing. And, you know, people at security and, you know, customs don't speak English. I'm like, come on now, like, how are we supposed to pass through here? But you make a way.
You make it work. Yeah.
Right. So with that being said, if somebody was thinking about traveling, you know, and they're rolling solo, what would be your advice to them? Somebody who's considering it, but maybe they're scared or don't know all the. I know you mentioned, you know, checking out the social media groups wherever they're going, but what would be your piece of advice to that person who's thinking about traveling solo?
Stop thinking. Just do it. But the other thing I will also say that was very helpful, I went to the Department of State's website to see what was required. I actually got detained when I was in Ghana because my mom's travel agent told me I didn't need a visa for Ghana. And I went to the Department of State's website, typed in Ghana, and I did need a visa. So I was trying to get a rush expedited passport, a visa, and it didn't arrive before I left. So I would say, yes, go to the Department of State, type in whatever country you're traveling to, look what the shop requirements are, what the visa requirements are, and then also register your trip with the Department of State. That way, if something was to happen in country, they know that you as an American citizen is there and you will get an alert. Make sure you get a SIM card, whatever country you go to. So either get a little pocket hotspot where you can put in a SIM card, or if your phone is unlocked, just get a local SIM card. That way you can get updates and alerts if anything was to happen. The other thing that I always do when I go to a country is I find out where the embassy or the consulate office is, the American embassy or consulate office, so I know how to get there if something to pop off, but nothing has ever popped off. But those are just my little habits, but honestly, stop thinking about it. Don't overthink it. Just do it. And it's so cliche, but the reason I still sit here is because I've just let go and surrendered and trust the process. And I believe that nothing will happen to me that's not supposed to, good or bad.
Right.
And I'm not gonna go a moment before my time. It's all preordained and pre-written. So I'm not going to worry about that. That's unnecessary stress in the body.
I love it.
Nike, just do it.
I tell people, like, you can die. People always worried about dying. You can die at home. You can die in a car accident. Something can fall on you. Like, you know, when it's your time, it's your time, regardless of where you are. And for those who are listening, and I'll put a link below the video, the website that you were referring to is travel.state.gov. I live by that site because, like you said, things pop up on there. And you mentioned, you know, registering. It's called a STEP program. So if you sign up for the STEP, I forgot what it is, what the acronym is, STEP. It'll notify you of anything that's happening in that country. And as Keidra mentioned, it'll register so they know you're coming. Yeah. So it's a good way to kind of, you know, ensure that you're safe.
It'll help ease your mind, and it also help ease your family's mind. That's the other thing. Don't listen to them. If I was to listen to my family, I know they don't mean anything by it, but if I was to listen to my family, I would still probably be there. So listen to your intuition. My intuition, again, I'm where I'm supposed to be, but even when I look at a couple of things in my career, it could have drastically been different if I would have followed my intuition instead of listening to my mentor and my family. My intuition told me something completely different. but I didn't listen. And I listened to everything else around me. And I'm not going to say I missed out on a major opportunity, but I do think things would have shifted differently had I listened to my intuition. You come in here solo, right? Even if you're a twin, you're not coming out at the same time. So it's you. Trust yourself before all else.
I love that. I think that's a great way to wrap this up. So, Keidra, I thank you for your time. If there's anywhere where people can find you online, where would that be?
Yeah, on Facebook, my name, Keidra King, Keidra King. There is another woman named Keidra King in Alabama, but she's of another ethnicity. So it'll be me with a curly afro. And on Instagram, it's just Keidra_King. That's it.
Gotcha. Well, again, I want to thank you for taking time out of your day to join us on this very first confession session interview. And cop.
Oh, I didn't realize that was your first. Come on, God. Yay.
Yeah, this is going down.
This is up. It's like, what, 1 or something in the morning for you. So thanks for staying up and doing this interview and accommodating me so it's midday for me.
Absolutely. I'm glad we can get it worked out. So with that being said, we're going to sign off until next time. Thank you again. For those of you watching, if you have any questions for Keidra or for myself, you can leave the comments below and we will get to you guys. And if you're thinking about traveling, as Keidra said, don't think about it, just book it. Just go ahead and do it. Don't listen to your family, don't listen to your friends, trust your instincts. And I promise you, everything will work out.
It'll work.
Everything always works out. So with that being said, we are signing off and we will see you guys in the next video. Deuces.